Do you suffer from unfinished projects, mysterious piles of mail, 17,000 unread messages, or brilliant ideas that you have absolutely no idea how to execute? Did last week's total solar eclipse leave you with sudden revelations and unexpected changes and overwhelming discoveries that your life may require some very necessary adjustments, but you do not know how to begin? Well, my friend, you may be entitled to compensation. Introducing Virgo season, the revolutionary new celestial organization system designed to take your beautiful, chaotic life, plus any eclipse-related damages, and turn it into something that you can actually fucking work with. With Virgo season, you can organize your calendar, refine your routines, and finally make the appointment that you have been avoiding for the past 6 months. And does it come with a label maker? Of course, it comes with a label maker. So gather your receipts, open your calendar, and locate that password to the account that you have been locked out of since February. Because this week the sun is moving into Virgo, and for us, that means it's time for tea. Hello, and welcome to Astrology with Aliza Kelly. I am your host and your spiritual friend, Aliza Kelly, and I am so happy that you are here. This is your weekly brew. Yes, it is. I serve it to you hot and fresh every single Monday. The theme of this week is energy shift, and the top 3 things you need to know are, number 1, we are all still reeling from that solar eclipse last week. I know it, you know it, how could we not be? But alas, there is no rest for the wicked because we are still in the eclipse portal. But now the energy is shifting because the sun is saying au revoir to Leo and bonjour to Virgo, a mutable sign, an earth sign, a sign that is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication. And for all of us, this signals a massive shift in how we move, how we think, how we shine. So, happy solar return, Virgo babies, you sexy little virgins. I do not like the way that sounds. But real talk, we do love our Virg hoes. Get it? See what I did there? Okay, well, Leo season may be over, but here at Astrology, we are still having fun. If you are new here, welcome. I'm your freak on a leash, Aliza Kelly, and I live to pour. I live to spill. I live to serve you tea. Twice a week on Mondays for your weekly brew and your horoscope, and then also on Wednesdays for the deeper dives into charts and stars and the magic of it all. Also, a reminder, I'm taking the show on the road, literally. My haunted tea party, spooky season astrology tour is selling out. So if you haven't secured your seats yet, honey, that is kind of scary. Head over to my website, alizakelly.com/events, and select the city nearest you and grab your seat. And of course, slap on that VIP experience so that we can actually have a little sippy sip after the show, okay? I'm coming to Chicago and Minneapolis and New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco and Boston, Beverly, right next to Salem on All Hallows Eve. What a dream. It's astrology, it's spooky, and every show is going to have a tea party inspired costume contest. Head over to alizakelly.com/events and get your ticket before they're gone. And of course, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of our community. So thank you for entrusting me with your astrology and keeping it really real for me as you continue to correct my pronunciation of everything. I obviously love that. Okay, your weekly brew is coming up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. You won't even notice. Welcome, my beautiful community, to Astrology and your Monday weekly brew. 'Tis I, Aliza Kelly, your host, your spiritual friend, your host with the most, ghost with the most. And this week, the sun has a new plan for all of us, okay? A new vision, a new spice of life, and it is going to signal a massive shift in how we move, in how we think, in how we shine, in how we get things done, in, hey, how we get that laundry going. And that's because the sun, which is your identity, my identity, all of our day-to-day identities, is saying au revoir, Leo, and bonjour to Virgo. So that means happy birthday, Virgo babies. We are all going to be taking a page from from your book now. And honey, we know this is quite the read. I always think that one of the best ways to understand the zodiac signs is to imagine them as they play out in a story, because these 12 signs are really moving through a sequence with intention. So we begin our story with Aries, that first spark of life, that flame that says, hello, I'm here. I have no idea why. I do not know what inspired me to get this thing going, but hello, I'm a little candle and I'm here now and we can do anything. And then Taurus arrives and is like, okay, what are we eating? What's for lunch? What's on the table? What do we need? What's the glassware? What does it look like? Oh my gosh, I love pastries. And then Gemini looks up from the table and immediately wants to know what's going on over there, what's going on across the room, what's going on at that other table where it looks like everyone is having a lot more fun. Like, what? Why are you seated at this table when you really should be at that table? Can you get up? Can you walk over to that table? Maybe can you make a few friends along the way? Maybe can you crack a few jokes? I don't know. But while you're on the move and you're chatting and you're gabbing and you're cracking a few jokes, suddenly someone throws it back at you and you're like, ooh la la, ouch, what's that? That hurt my feelings. Because Cancer comes in, the first water sign, and it shows us what feelings are. It is a reminder and our first touch of understanding that, hey, we have feelings. So Cancer is like, okay, that's enough. Where's the bathroom? I need to cry in the stall for a second because I don't feel safe here at all. I don't know who I can trust. I don't know who I can be around. And maybe I just need to have a good cry alone. And then after that big release, you're looking in the mirror, getting yourself fixed up, and then you catch your eyes in the reflection and you notice that mascara running down your face and you're like, ooh, it's kind of a look. It's kind of art. It's giving drama. And then Leo emerges from Cancer's emotional cocoon. It alchemizes all of that pain, steps directly onto the dance floor and says, fuck it, I know who I am. I know what I can create and nothing is going to stop me ever again. No one puts baby in a corner. Leo is overflowing with passion and heart and ideas and lots of inspiration. And it's saying, look at me now. I mean, maybe an entire musical based around the zodiac. Is that a great idea? Well, here comes Virgo, because Virgo looks at everything that Leo has discovered about itself, about what it wants to create, about what's important, about all of that heart and spine and courage. And Virgo is like, yeah, okay, these are great ideas. What's your plan? How is this going to happen? Because an idea can be brilliant and confidence can get you very far, but eventually you're going to need a practice to support the vision. Eventually you're going to need a schedule. Eventually you're going to need a fucking plan. Am I right? And that, my darlings, is how we arrive right where we are at Virgo season. This is when we need to refine our ideas. This is when we need to practice our skills. This is when we recognize that our lives needed to be fixed up strategically. We need to make room for the things that we want, and we need to trim the fat on the things that are not serving us anymore. And we couldn't do that during Leo season. No. But Virgo season right now, this is the time. It's giving back to school. So then why do we just reduce the sign Virgo to being so anal and uptight and obsessed with organization when Virgo is actually the invitation to explore much more profound and meaningful qualities, right? Like, how do we make things work? How do we create structures to support progress? Virgo is not trying to be a buzzkill. It's not saying like, you don't have any good creative ideas. No, it actually wants to help you figure out how to make them real. I obviously have met Virgos who are the total stereotype of the Virgo, right? Who are going to reorganize the dishwasher after you load it because apparently you have committed some like primordial sin by putting the bowl in the wrong place. Like, I have met them, you have met them. Those Virgos do indeed exist. Maybe you are one of them. But if we want to really understand the sign, we need to move beyond that stereotype. We need to move beyond that archetype. We need to break it down and examine why Virgo is the way it is and analyze how all of the pieces actually work together, which is perhaps the most Virgo coded thing that we could do. But 'tis the season, and I too have quite a bit of Virgo in my chart, admin reveal. So I am obviously very, very down for the occasion. Now, you should know that Virgo is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication and information and interpretation. Mercury wants to understand the world, but more importantly, Mercury wants to create connections between things so that information can actually move through the world and get to where it needs to go. Mercury also rules the sign of Gemini, so we understand that Mercury has these sort of different qualities and expressions, right? Mercury in its Gemini form is all about like collecting information, sharing information. It's about like the speed of which we can share and bring things in and connect the dots and make those links. And it's like, it's that, wait, what's that? Who said that? Where did you hear that? It's the tea, right? Not to say that the Virgo expression of Mercury doesn't want the tea, but it does want to take everything that has been collected and really like take time with it, right? Like spread it all out across the table and figure out what it means before it starts throwing it back out into the world. It wants to polish it up. It wants to examine it, turn it over, re-examine it, turn it on, turn it off, ensure that it is high functioning, right? That it is optimized. So when it reaches people, it's doing it in the best way possible so that whatever that piece of information is can be thoroughly processed and understood and incorporated into the bigger picture messages. Mercury adores Virgo. Mercury is in fact in both its domicile and exaltation in Virgo. And that is the only planet sign combo platter that doubles down like that. Domicile means that Mercury is in its home base there, but exaltation tells us that Mercury is exceptionally powerful in Virgo. It's like, I love to be home, but I'm also obsessed with being home. You know what I mean? Virgo gives Mercury the ability to discern and edit and categorize and refine and ultimately transform a gigantic pile of information into something that is practically useful. And this is why Virgo cares so deeply about understanding and being understood, is that really Virgo and Mercury are both trying to get the highest, finest quality, most refined information to the places where it needs to be. Virgo is also the second earth sign of the zodiac, following Taurus and preceding Capricorn. And Earth as an energy brings us into the physical reality, the tangible world that we inhabit through our bodies and our resources and, what our daily life consists of. Astrology, as you know, can get extremely abstract and philosophical and esoteric, which obviously we love. But earth signs remind us that eventually all of those enormous ideas have to make sense and they have to exist within the physical realm. Taurus manifests that earth element through the senses, through physical pleasure, through the security and the stability of life. Capricorn works with that earth element to create structure, to build things that can really withstand pressure and endure over time, things that can be scaled and ultimately create a legacy. And Virgo is kind of, as the middle sign, somewhere between the two. Virgo is working directly with the material that's already there, but it also is studying it very closely and figuring out how it can function better so it ultimately can create those systems that endure. And that is why Virgo has such a strong relationship with health, mental health, physical health, healing, daily practices. Your life is shaped by the things that you do over and over again, including the tiny things that you can easily overlook, but are actually the building blocks of your entire existence. And Virgo is asking us to take inventory, right? Like, what's your sleep schedule? How long do you sleep for? How do you spend your mornings? Are you practicing enough for whatever it is that you care about to become part of who you are, to get really, really good at those skills and talents and abilities? Which leads us to a very fascinating aspect of Virgo, which is, in fact, its modality. It's a mutable sign. Mutable signs arrive at the end of every season. So here in the Northern Hemi, Virgo is going to be guiding us from summer into fall. And all mutable signs understand that whatever exists right now at the beginning of something cannot remain exactly as it is forever. It needs to go through change. So the mutable signs are the adapters of the zodiac. They are the ones who don't just respond to change, but they actually create it. And they create it by shifting the perspective and allowing us to see what needs to happen next. Cardinal signs, which kick off seasons, are the initiators, and fixed signs are the sustainers. But mutable signs, they're the adjusters. And Virgo's particular type of adjustment is different from all of the other mutable signs. Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces. I mean, come on. These signs, you know they are so sloppy-oppy. They're so messy-wessy. They're so cuckoo crazy. No shade, but let's be honest, Virgo is not like those other girls, because Virgo's adaptation is defined through refinement. It watches what happens. It studies and examines the results. It loves data. It loves analytics, and it changes the methods in accordance to what it has observed. And this is where Virgo's perfectionism comes from. Believe it or not, that perfectionistic stereotype actually comes from the fact that Virgo is mutable. Virgo isn't designed to find one system and then worship it for the rest of eternity. No, Virgo is responsive. It is responding to reality, which means Virgo's real gift is its willingness to be like, okay, that worked then, it's not working now. What did we learn? What are we going to do differently? How can this sentence be better? How can these relationships be better? How can my makeup be better? How can adjustments improve this situation? Virgo is the sixth sign of the zodiac, which means Virgo completes the entire first half. And the first six signs are really all about our development of selfhood. It is the first part of our self-actualization journey, beginning with Aries, discovering existence, moving through the body into Taurus, the mind with Gemini, our emotions with Cancer, our creative identity with Leo, and then Virgo arrives. And this guides us into the integration of everything that we have learned on a practical level. Virgo is the final stage of self-development that we can theoretically accomplish alone, because after Virgo comes Libra, and suddenly we are in the realm of partnership and connection and plus ones, right? The second half of the zodiac moves us into relationships and society and resources, and eventually into concepts that are so philosophical and so abstract and so enormous that the individual self dissolves altogether. But Virgo gets us ready. How can you take responsibility for yourself? Before you understand the enormity and the profundity of the universe, can you understand your own patterns? Before you dedicate yourself to some crazy spiritual calling, can you build a daily life that you can actually sustain? That's tea. Virgo's relationship with healing becomes so meaningful because healing is about presence. You can understand why you behave a certain way. You can identify exactly where that wound came from. You can have an incredible therapy-approved vocabulary for describing it, but at some point, your knowledge and wisdom needs to be a practice. And Virgo asks, what are you going to do with everything that you have learned and discovered about yourself? And finally, the last thing that we need to talk about is the fact that Virgo is symbolized by the maiden, aka La Virgin, which has made this sign unfortunately associated with some very misleading concepts, okay? Av's, our contemporary understanding of virginity, tends to focus more on sexual experience, but the ancient archetype of the virgin is actually describing a person, a woman, who is autonomous and self-possessed and is not being controlled by men ever. She belongs to herself. Historically, Virgo is associated with lots of powerful mythological maidens, including Astraea, the Greek figure associated with justice, as well as Vesta, the Vestal virgins who tend to the sacred flame, as well as agricultural imagery connected to goddesses like Demeter and Persephone. Ever heard of her? And that is why you'll often see Virgo depicted as a female figure holding wheat. It's the maiden connected to harvest and cultivation, and the moment that we separate what can nourish us from what actually is unnecessary, what needs to be discarded. Super Virgo coded. So please remove the imagery of Virgo as some sexually repressed nun clutching her pearls, because to be honest, Virgos are horny little freaks. In fact, I would argue that Virgo's relationship with control, which they love, makes the opportunity to really let loose especially alluring. And when you spend your life noticing every little tiny detail, sometimes surrender becomes its own form of nasty nast. You know what I mean. So no matter where you have Virgo in your chart, and yes, honey, you have Virgo in your chart, even if you don't have any planets in Virgo, you still have Virgo in your chart because every sign is in your chart. Pay attention to that Virgo area of your chart, because this is the zone that will be getting illuminated by the sun's solar rays now that we are in Virgo season. And next week, we have a lunar eclipse, and that's a full moon on steroids. And that's going to be lighting up the whole Virgo-Pisces axis. And that opposition is going to introduce a completely different dimension of everything that we have just been exploring. Virgo wants to analyze what's happening so it can respond appropriately, but then Pisces comes into play, and that just, flips the whole thing on its head and said nothing matters at all. Whew! But for now, community, pay attention, notice your patterns, examine your practices, observe what makes your reality, and also where you need to adjust your reality. Virgo season is the opportunity for us to work with what is directly in front of us. And because we are still indeed in that eclipse season portal, you may realize that you are having lots and lots of breakthroughs and discovery because your life is rapidly changing right before your very little eyes. And that, of course, is tea. And here is your journal prompt for the week ahead. As we step into this new season, what adjustments can I make that will support my progress right now? Oh boy. Oh my goodness. It's time for tarot. Yes, it is. It's time to see what card we're going to get for the week ahead. I'm not scared. You're scared. No one is scared, but tarot is, tarot. It's never gentle. Well, that's not true. Sometimes it is gentle. What I mean to say is tarot always is going to reveal what we need to see, whether we like it or not. And I'm really curious because this isn't just the card for the week. This is really our Virgo season card. This is the Virgo season vibe. So let's see what it is. Let's see what tarot has to say about the week, about the season. Give us something good. No funny business, please. King of Cups. I'm freaking out because I am recording this right after having returned home from our amazing eclipse season retreat. And believe it or not, King of Cups was the card that we pulled for what we needed to know for that weekend. At the time of this recording, it's been just a few hours since I got home from that amazing container we created together. So if you were on that retreat, you already know him. You already know this freak on a throne. But for the rest of us, the work that we did on that retreat is obviously very pertinent, very relevant for coming into this moment. So the King of Cups depicts a king, high and mighty, on his throne, but this throne is not attached to anything at all. This throne is out to sea. In fact, there is no land that we can experience in the slightest. Behind him, there's like a Loch Ness monster, a pirate ship. He is floating down his own rapidly moving river. He has a fish necklace on. I mean, he's really on a whole other level. And this is actually the TLDR of the card. He is really on a whole other level. He is so deep in his intuition, in his musing, in his feelings, in his experience that on one hand, like, help, this king is floating out to sea. He needs a life vest, throw him a lifesaver. Help him, SOS. But on the other hand, like, let him float. Let him sail. Let him be in his feelings. So for all of us, think about how being so deep out in your feelings is for you. Is this something where you feel like being so lost in your emotions, in the depth of what you are experiencing, and what you are sailing through is benefiting you, or does it start to feel like you've kind of lost touch with what your real world responsibilities and needs and demands are? Not to say that you need to like get back to shore right away, but if it's starting to feel like you are not present in your life, maybe you want to make sure that you have an anchor on hand. There's nothing wrong with being in your feelings, with really diving fully and completely into your psychic, intuitive abilities, but make sure that you are not so far out that no one can connect with you. That's the push and pull here. And that's what we need to know for the week ahead. Coming up next, I have your personalized horoscope. Yes, I do. Stay tuned. I'll be right back after a very quick break. Welcome back, friends. It's time for your horoscope. So just a few things, okay? You always ask me, Aliza, should I listen for my sun or my rising or my moon? And I always say, honey, listen for whatever you would like to listen for. Listen to all of the signs. Start at Aries and cruise through Pisces and see what stands out to you, because you have all of these signs in your chart. Do you not? You do. You do. And maybe you're having a particularly lunar week and you really need to tune in for that moon sign in addition to your sun and rising. Maybe it's a very mercurial week for you, especially with the sun moving into Virgo and Mercury is calling your attention right now. My invitation is to start and just cruise through all 12. But of course, if you want to find your sign easily, you could use the timestamps, the chapters. It's all there for you, okay? We always take care of you. Now, let's be like the King of Cups and dive on in, shall we? Hello, Aries. So how was that eclipse for you? How was Leo season for you? Aries, perhaps you remembered something that you really genuinely care about. Maybe you felt some creative force within you really getting stirred up. Maybe you felt like you were about to lose your fucking mind. Hey, that's okay. Maybe you had a few big old realizations, recognizing that you have become way too focused on the things that you don't care about and not spending the time focusing on the things that you do care about. And all the while you're supposed to be having a fucking good time, but you're feeling miserable. Hey, I get it. Don't worry. We're right there with you. Last week's eclipse pushed you onto the pressure point, the brinking point, the end of the line. And Aries, I suspect that right now you are finding yourself trying to make sense of all of these important discoveries and realizations that you had, all while still trying to maintain that hope and joy and joie de vivre in being alive. But now, Virgo season is coming in. And it's coming in with a clipboard, okay? And a very sharp pencil, watch out, and a pair of spectacles. Are these real glasses or are they pretend? Are you cosplaying? Either way, Aries, right now, you know that you need to lock in. Because that creative project, it needs a schedule. That new relationship, you need to figure out when you're actually going to have time to see each other. And don't forget, you still need sleep. You still need to answer those emails. You need to drink water. You occasionally need to remember where you put your keys. So Aries, this week, don't be surprised if you figure out a way to figure it all out. It's giving practical breakthrough. You may find a new rhythm at work. You may reorganize your schedule and you're like, this is it. You may finally start to make some phone calls that are going to make your life easier, even though you didn't want to have to do it in the first place, or finally figure out why that one particular part of your routine has been driving you so crazy. Something that seemed like maybe it was a you problem, a motivation problem, may actually turn out to be a systems problem. And now you're going to get it done. You're going to be able to figure out why the paper is getting jammed. And just like that, voila, you have a printer again. So whatever made things feel stressful during Leo season, that might have been like a good adrenaline rush at first and then turned into like, I have to see a doctor about this later. These are all going to get solutions in the days ahead. What would it look like if you could build your life around functionality? Inspiration is wonderful, but Virgo wants you to become devoted to the things that you actually love doing, the things that help you feel alive. And this week, you're going to figure out how you can keep all of the candles burning. Aries, I know it may seem like you and Virgo don't have a lot in common, but you actually do. You both want to create. So work together and figure out how you can keep that pep in your step, that spice of life, that joie de vivre alive. And then you're going to be all set for when next week's eclipse blows it all up all over again. Teehee. Hi, Taurus. Wow. Okay, well, you have been on quite the journey, have you not? And I know a bovine like you would rather be watching your favorite show, on your favorite couch, with your favorite emotional support beverage, resting your head on your favorite pillow. But instead, you were being dragged back into your childhood home. You were forced to reintegrate trauma that you thought you were over a long time ago. You were reevaluating every single nook and cranny of your life, all while you were trying to enjoy your last few weeks of Leo season. But no, it wasn't in the cards. You had to bring your attention towards that psychological home, towards that emotional family, your memory, your sense of belonging, the architecture that supports everything you know and everything you are. And then we had the eclipse. Oh my God. And no doubt that brought a whole other set of revelations about where you belong and who your family feels like and what you need in a family and what you actually need to feel safe. And you're exhausted. I get it. And you're going to be surprised by where this is going because Taurus, we are not taking a nap. We are not going to sleep. We are actually putting on our dancing shoes and we're doing a little tappy tap. We are getting out on that dance floor and we are having fun. Virgo season is coming in hot and it's dragging you out of the basement of your psyche and it's handing you a pen with a feather on it. Yes, it's giving Cher from Clueless. Suddenly, you feel like you're tired of wallowing. You want to sing. You want to dance. You want to have some romance in your life. You want a little creativity. You want a little sex. Yes, sex. And you want to be silly all the while. Because guess what, Taurus? You've done the hard stuff. Now you get to enjoy yourself. So prioritize having fun. And especially if your first instinct is to dismiss all of this and be like, it's so frivolous. I've been thinking about these really heavy things, Taurus, enough. The spice of life is actually being able to go there and there. You can do the work, the real core soul work, and still go out, have fun, connect, find new hobbies, flirt, fall in love, make a fool of yourself, stay out too late, do the whole thing. So follow that pulse of excitement because it's actually leading you towards the self-actualization journey, deeper on that path, more than any exhaustive analysis could offer right now. Leo season was hard. It was intense. It was vigorous. And Virgo season is where it all begins to bloom. Virgo is a like-minded earth sign. So for you now, it's about figuring out like, okay, this is what you need to feel safe. And now that you're safe, can you play? And if the answer is maybe, make it a hell yes. Because we know that things are rearranging. Things have been really a lot. And if the soil beneath your feet has started moving, Taurus, maybe it was because something was about to sprout and maybe something new is blooming this week. Hello, Gemini. Listen. We know you love to talk. And Leo season was all about that gab, the yearn to yap. It was relentless. And over the past few weeks, conversations were indeed accelerating and information was coming in and people were going out and plans were changing and messages were flying around. And last week's eclipse, honey, that delivered a very particular piece of news that completely rocked thy world. And that was tea. But now Virgo season is beginning and all of that information starts traveling somewhere deeper still. You have been gathering clues, Gemini, and now you need to get that newspaper wall together with all of those little tacks and all of those little strings and start to connect the dots. You have to figure out, what does it mean? What's the bigger message? Where is this going? A conversation about your future is suddenly going to hearken you back to the past. Have you been here before? What does that mean? Why are you in this cycle? Why are you in this loop? Is it deja vu? Suddenly, you stumble onto something that makes you realize that an old story that you have been lugging around simply doesn't make sense anymore. It was a trap. This week, you are going to be rearranging a lot. I'm talking moving furniture, cleaning out closets, spending more time with some people, less time with other people. Everything becomes an investigation. This is, of course, a metaphor, but it's also literal, Gemini. You need to rearrange things, rearrange the conversations that you're having, rearrange your memories of the past in order for you to understand what it means for you today. Sometimes, actually doing something in your physical environment, like shifting your couch just a few feet to the left, is actually more than just moving the couch 3 feet to the left. Sometimes it's you realizing that, oh my God, I'm having a download standing in this place right now because I just remembered that my grandma told my mom something that I think was a lie. And what happened in 1968 is still shaping my world today. And then, just like that, everything makes sense. But you wouldn't have had that thought if you didn't do that thing. You feel me? That's the Gemini to Virgo pipeline. You are ruled by Mercury, just like Virgo. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of information. And for you this week, it's about integration. You found some great words in Leo season, and we had that eclipse, and that probably changed up the story, right? It shifted things in that respect. But now with the sun going into Virgo, you need to find the new narrative, and you need to recognize that everything that you know about the way life is has been written at some point as a reflection of your reality. And maybe parts of that were unreliable. Parts of that were inconsistent. Parts of that need to be looked at and re-examined again. Because Gemini, the TLDR is that this is a week that is riddled with family secrets. And family secrets, honey, that's tea. Hi, Cancer baby. So for the past few weeks, as the sun has been moving through Leo, you have been getting more and more clear about what actually matters to you. Yes, money. Money has been a central part of the conversation, especially around what you're earning and spending and charging and saving. But then we had that eclipse last week, and that pushed the conversation somewhere you really didn't expect it to go, because that's what eclipses do. They keep us on our beautiful little toes. And with that information, maybe you're ready to make some changes. But Virgo season is starting. And Cancer, honey, I invite you to take full advantage of this, because you really need to communicate what is going on and what has been going on. And over the coming days, you may find yourself ready to have conversations that felt impossible to have a month ago. Maybe you're negotiating a new rate. Maybe you are asking for something you need. Maybe you're clearing up a misunderstanding. Maybe you're clearing your name, or you're finally telling someone exactly where you stand and what your hard line is. You have new information about your worth, Cancer, and that changes how you articulate your needs and what defines a reasonable response. There is going to be a flurry of new activity this week: emails, phone calls, paperwork, meetings, hot goss, perhaps, I hope, tea, j'adore. But that also means that your calendar may suddenly become a whole lot busier. But somewhere inside all of that activity is the message that you have been waiting for. Someone is going to say something in passing that really helps you connect the dots. Or an opportunity could emerge from a conversation that initially seemed like it wasn't going anywhere, and now suddenly you're like, oh wow, that was really important. So Cancer, listen closely, but pay equal attention to also what's coming out of your own mouth. What messages are you sending, spoken or unspoken? Because Leo season was helping you recognize what deserves your energy. But now, the next few weeks, but starting this week, you are going to learn how to advocate for it with specificity. Cancer, say what you mean and say what you need, and say it clearly. Say it from the diaphragm. Say it with conviction, because I am sorry to say that you cannot keep relying on people to read your mind, okay? People cannot respond to your needs if you are refusing to articulate them. Honey, this is not telepathy, it's tea. Leo, what a time to be you. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive as a Leo. We just had an eclipse in your sign. Yes, we did. And it is the equivalent of somebody busting down your door while you're in the dressing room mid-change, and then they come in and they're like, "You're on now, get up there." And you're like, "What? I'm naked." Well, Naked and Afraid is a TV show, and that's a vibe. It's been a vibe, okay. Razzle dazzle and fear. What an interesting combination, especially after last week's eclipse. That was l'essence of razzle dazzle and fear, because that truly did accelerate a massive change in your identity and your priorities, maybe in your relationships, maybe in your understanding of where the hell your life is going. Real talk, Leo, eclipses expose the distance between who you are and who you are meant to become. So maybe you had your fair share of surprises last week. Maybe you're like, "I never want to have another surprise birthday again," right? You had to make too many decisions. You were overwhelmed, decision fatigue, and thinking about who you were 6 months ago versus who you are now, thinking about who you will be 6 months from now, it's too much. You've been fighting so hard, and now you need a little break. It's been disorienting, Leo. But I have good news. Believe it or not, the good news is that your season is over. Now, with the sun moving into Virgo, after all of that existential drama and real drama, we are shifting onto another timeline. We are shifting the narrative. We have a new script for us to consider. And this one has a lot to do with the cost. Virgo season is turning your attention towards money and resources and to the practicalities of how you are going to support yourself. You may find yourself negotiating a new deal, or maybe thinking about how you can change up your spending. Maybe you're going to want to invest in something important. Maybe you're going to discover a new source of income. We love to see that. But this is also about your intrinsic value, Leo. And after everything that you have been through, you now know your worth. And this is where everything that you learned through the eclipse starts to become real. Not to mention we have another eclipse next week, but I digress, okay? This week, you are exploring how this new identity that you have crafted over the last few weeks, that you've slipped into, is actually going to set you up for success by way of new priorities. And these new priorities are going to require that you decide what deserves your resources. What do you want to invest in right now? And how can you do it differently than you have in the past? You don't need to have your whole post-eclipse identity and life figured out. But perhaps, Leo, it's time to start putting your money and your time and your energy behind what you are actually looking to move closer towards in this life right now. Because where you spend your resources is where you direct your energy. And where you direct your energy defines your reality. Hello, Virgo. Happy solar return, my beautiful little Virgo baby. I hope that somebody has already made you an extremely detailed birthday itinerary that accounts for traffic, dietary considerations, and the precise amount of time everyone will need to arrive at dinner so no one is late, because, honey, your season has officially begun. Yes, it has. And let's be honest, after a very strange, very psychological, very exhausting Leo season, this means that you are finally coming back online, and you need that, because these past few weeks have been weird. Very, very weird. You have been in your feels for too long. It's giving King of Cups, okay? You have been floating out at sea. You have been processing feelings that you didn't even know you had. Feelings that you thought had been filed and labeled and archived and permanently removed from circulation. But no, somehow over the past few weeks, everything has been scrambled and slapped in your lap. And you're like, oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore. There is no spreadsheet that is going to make this make sense. But I have good news for you, Virgo. Give me that exhale, because hello, gorgeous. You really don't need to do it anymore. The sun is moving into your sign, and that means that, hallelujah, you have agency and visibility and a much stronger desire to change things up as needed. Perhaps you're going to feel like, after what you've been through, a new look is in order. Maybe some bangs if humidity allows, or maybe that burst of energy is going to be directed towards establishing some new projects or fixing some relationships that have really gone off the rails, or simply feeling like you could be hopeful about the future again. Hey, is a little optimism too much to ask? Not anymore. You are so back. Plus, people are going to start paying more attention to you this week. And that means that just naturally more opportunities are going to be finding their way to you because you are willing to be seen and you are being seen. But don't forget, Virgo, that whatever surfaced over the last few weeks deserves to come with you and be treated as wisdom. I know that you would probably rather just pretend like that experience never happened. Whatever was going on at the end of July into August was just like, no one will ever talk about it again, but it happened for a reason. And whatever you learned about yourself, whatever discoveries and breakthroughs you had, they're important. And I'm sorry to say, we do have another eclipse coming up, and this one is across your zodiacal axis. And that's going to be pushing you into, some intense territory again. So you got to get ready for that, but don't worry. With the sun now in your sign, this is your opportunity to integrate it, to integrate your destiny and find meaning in this moment and take everything that's happened and turn it into powerful fuel so that you can do whatever you want to do and go wherever you want to go. And honey, that's major. So here we go. Coming up, we have the second half of the zodiac to pour, so stay tuned for your personalized horoscope right after this quick break. Welcome back, community. Let's hop right back into it. Your horoscope is coming up. Let's spill that astrology. Hello, Libra. Leo season has been a very social time for you. These past few weeks, we've seen friends, new friends, old friends. We've met some new collaborators. We've felt like we were part of a community. We even maybe explored some new audiences. We expanded our network. We got all illuminated. We got all hopeful. And then we had that eclipse. And that perhaps dramatically changed your understanding of where you belong within those social ecosystems. A friendship shifted, perhaps. A collaboration kind of stopped dead in the water. Maybe something that you thought was going to happen doesn't seem like it's going to happen anymore. You were hoping you were going to be able to attend something, but you never got the invite, and then you realized, I guess it's not coming. Well, Libra, whatever happened matters. And now the sun moving into Virgo is actually your opportunity to take a step back, to find some time on your own. Your attention is turning inward now. And that means you may need a little more privacy than usual to process everything that just happened. All of the feelings of being accepted and belonging, and then the subsequent feelings of being rejected and feeling like ostracized. This can be strange because your instinct is to try to understand what happened and understand yourself more by connecting through relationships, by spending more time with people so that you can make sure that, hey, like people like you, right? Like you're not a weirdo. You are welcome into these spaces. But actually what you need right now is the quiet solitude so that you can hear your own voice without anyone else chiming in. You need the silence to be able to really tune into your own intuition. So yes, Libra, that means a little bit of isolation. So this week, pay close attention to how you feel, not how they feel, how you feel by way of your dreams and your emotions and whatever psychic downloads come through. Something from your past will absolutely resurface. Or maybe you're going to have a deeper understanding of why certain friendships feel so important and so invaluable, or why this group dynamic has been bothering you so much. You may also just be fucking tired, Libra. So if your body is needing some rest, please stop trying to turn exhaustion into a networking opportunity. Just relax. There is no question that Leo season and eclipse season change something about your relationship to community, to your relationship with your friends. And now the sun's movement into Virgo is giving you the space with intention to digest what this means. Who are you when nobody is reflecting you back to yourself? You don't need to disappear from civilization forever, but right now, this week, a little retreat, a little time alone, it could be exactly what the Dr. Dr. Universe ordered. It could reveal exactly which connections you want to really prioritize and maintain, and which ones have already served their purpose and that you can walk away from and not have any guilt around. That's kind of tea. Scorpio, you have been visible. Visible. We see you. We see you. We see you. And that is because Leo season put this giant celestial spotlight right on your forehead, and we like beamed into your ridiculous ambitions and goals, and we're like, whoa, Scorpio, you really are relentless. And then, oh my gosh, we had that eclipse, and that was intense. And I'm sure for you, there were major breakthroughs around where your life is heading and where you want to go. Maybe a new opportunity appeared, or a professional situation just changed overnight, or you had this like slightly terrifying realization that the goal that you have been working towards isn't actually what you want anymore, which is tea, but it's a very hot tea. It's a very spicy tea, and it was a tea that you were not prepared to sip. But now Virgo season has arrived. And for you, this is opening doors. And that means that new people are coming through. I'm talking new friends, new collaborators, new colleagues and acquaintances, maybe people who can really help you get back on track and get where you want to go. What you discovered over the past few weeks during Leo season revealed things about your future that, if we're being honest, you're not really going to be able to accomplish alone. You need a team. And I know, Scorpio, horrifying. Other people, strangers, no thank you. But hold on, stay with me, because this week you are going to see just how valuable the right people can be. An introduction can be monumental. Maybe someone connects you to something that you didn't even know existed, or you find yourself welcomed into a community that gives you access to resources and ideas and a network that you wouldn't have been able to tap into on your own. So say yes to things that feel just ever so slightly outside of your orbit, because the breakthroughs that are going to arrive by way of people that you barely know and trusting your intuition as you step into these rooms, like Scorpio, you can't make this shit up. Keep in mind, of course, that there is a deeper question beneath all of this, and that is figuring out who really understands the future you are trying to build. Question mark? Leo season was clarifying your direction, but now with the sun moving into this new section of the sky, you have to remember that your dreams are going to become much more powerful when they actually can exist within a bigger ecosystem. Listen, I know that you are protective and you're private, and you certainly don't need to hand just anyone keys to your castle, but maybe you can let a few people come in for the day, at least step into the foyer and just see what you're working on. And maybe they can actually really help you, Scorpio. That's kind of a sleigh. Hi, Sagittarius. There you are. I was worried you weren't going to be able to make it today because you have been busy traveling, studying, exploring new philosophies, new belief systems, questioning everything about reality, chasing UFOs. I know. It's been wild, Sag. You've really been sagging. And that's just how you like it. And then we had that eclipse last week. Oh my God. That blew open your perspective even further, did it not? And you have really been buzzing, okay? You are ready and eager to take this whole damn thing to the next level, and just your luck, that is exactly what you are about to do. It is time to level the fuck up, Sagittarius. It is time to step onto thy platform, onto thy soapbox. It is time to be seen and heard. And that means your career, your ambitions, your visibility, your larger direction, your fucking legacy. Honey, it is all coming into focus now, which means that whatever felt abstract over the last few weeks is actually about to become concrete very quickly. So this is going to be a big week professionally. You are going to be receiving recognition, or maybe you're closing a deal that you've been working towards for a long, long time. Maybe you're going to have an important conversation with someone in a very important authority position, and they're like, yes, you are the one for the job. Or you're like, actually, I'm done. I'm ready to pursue something that actually meets me where I am, that reflects the level that I am on, where I want to go. I'm much more ambitious than whatever it is that I'm working on. And I actually have to find the right avenues and verticals that can support these big, lofty goals and dreams I have. There's nothing wrong with that. People are also going to be paying attention to what you're doing, Sag. So this is the perfect week to take some big leaps of faith. Make sure that you are working on what actually represents you right now, because that's the integration that is happening here. Leo season expanded your understanding of what is possible, and now Virgo season is making sure that you really step into that expanded worldview and take everything that you learned along with you. If you really believe what you say you believe, then what is that going to require? Are you going to have to work hard? Yes. Are you going to be able to work on things that you care about? Also, yes. But you need to move things around so that you can really be in the driver's seat, so that you can make the rules. So let's see what you'll do with it. I can't wait. Let's see what you'll do with this brand new opportunity to turn your wildest, craziest dreams into your very embodied reality. No pressure, but Sag, this is your moment. So make it happen. Capricorn, baby, if you are still reeling from last week's eclipse, I don't blame you. I am too. And I'm sure you are wondering how much more you can possibly take. Plus, how much are you willing to risk for the life that you actually want? Great questions. I know that things have been shifting around your commitments, your agreements, situations where you have really felt like you have reached overflow. Like there is nothing else that can be popped into this teacup before the whole damn thing spills out. I get it. You have been surprised. You have been shooketh. And you know things that you didn't know before. Honey, you know things that you can't unknow now. And what you do with all of that remains unknown. But this week, I want you to get out of town. I want you to step out of your usual environment, literally, if you can. Take meetings in weird coffee shops. Go places you haven't been before. Talk to someone that you wouldn't normally talk to. Find a strange bookstore and get lost in there for a couple of hours, because you do need to change up the energy. And there is something that is waiting for you just beyond the perimeter of your normal life. And you need to give yourself space to actually stumble upon it almost accidentally. And whether that be a conversation with a shopkeeper that gives you an idea, or an invitation to something that takes you on a whole wild goose chase, or information that you get from reading something that you wouldn't normally read that actually makes you reconsider a plan that you thought was already settled. Capricorn, your mission this week is to burst the envelope open and shake up your personal status quo. Your ability to reconsider what you thought was set in stone is going to be incredibly important. You are usually very good at making decisions and making the right decisions and then building around them. But you can take that even further now, because Virgo season is encouraging you to become a student again. So maybe there's a better way to do things, Cap. Maybe somebody knows something that you don't know. I know, shocking, but maybe the things that you thought were absolutely 100% certain deserve a second look. So follow those strange breadcrumbs this week. Give me that Hansel and Gretel, okay? Last week's eclipse was a lot, and it really rattled your life and every single component with intention. You don't need to know where everything is going, okay? You don't need to know where every road is going to lead you, but it's important that you start meandering down an interesting path, because there is something waiting for you where you least expect it. And this week, if you give yourself the opportunity to explore and discover and learn, life is going to surprise you in a very pleasant way. Hello, Aquarius. Well, okay, so we just came out of Leo season. We had an eclipse in Leo, your opposite sign, and that means that somebody likely showed you their entire ass. Ew, but it's true. Somebody revealed what they were really actually about, and you were like, ugh. I do not want to see that again. I do not need to know that. You revealed way too much. And now that I understand what you want and what you're about and what you can offer, and in some ways, like the entire trajectory that this relationship is going to be on forevermore, I am going to go this way while you go that way. But now actually comes the interesting part. Aquarius, what are you going to do with this knowing? what are you going to do with this information? Because this week is going to put you in a situation where you actually need to make some choices. And you need to get very specific about how you are going to re-engage in this relationship or in this environment or with the people that you once thought were your safe people, but now you know are not. Maybe you are splitting a cost and realizing like, actually, I don't want to pay for this. This is not fair. Why have I been doing this? Or maybe you are about to go deeper into a relationship, but before you do that, you're like, actually, we need to talk about this more. We need to talk about what has been happening and what's been going on. There are some logistical conversations that are necessary in order for us to take it to the next level. Or maybe someone is like, can I help you with that? And you're like, I don't think so. I would rather do this alone. Please go away. But then that's when we do need to roll it back and say, Aquarius, what kinds of boundaries are you establishing and why? You know what I mean? Because if the boundaries that you're building right now are boundaries that are not actually reflective of the immediate situation and more historical, then we may find ourselves just repeating the same cycle, same situations over and over again. But Virgo season is your opportunity to recognize that you can be present and make meaningful adjustments in the now that allow relationships to be more reciprocal, more healthy, and also help you get where you want to go, both personally and interpersonally. Maybe this is going to look like you finally settling some debts or getting approval on something that you've been waiting for, or figuring out how you can have a functional, practical conversation about establishing a better working relationship. Aquarius, there is tremendous relief available when everybody knows exactly what they are responsible for, what is expected of them, and how they can show up as their best selves within the vibe. And there's also the emotional implications as well. Obviously, last week was major, right? You realized who you were sitting across from. So this week is either focusing on the repair or focusing on what happens when you decide to go in a different direction. And how can you support yourself and also still approach these dynamics with compassion? That may be the real experiment this week, Aquarius, to see what happens when you show up for yourself while also maintaining kindness and love in recognizing that you may no longer be on the same page, and that's okay because you still have choices. Your fate isn't necessarily set in stone. Pisces, hello. I'm not judging, but this calendar, what's going on with this? This is cuckoo. It's not working. And over the past few weeks, I hope that you have recognized too, so much of your time is getting swallowed doing things that you don't want to do, obligations and favors and work and errands and mysterious little things that are reproducing overnight. And then the next thing you know, it's 2:00 in the morning and you haven't even caught your breath. What? No doubt last week's eclipse brought you to a breaking point where you suddenly realized this is unsustainable and this cannot continue. And that realization is about to affect your relationships. But now this is your second chance to actually make things right and to make the changes that have been so necessary across every dimension in every realm, and to actually do it in a way that is intentional and thoughtful and compassionate for the fact that you are a human, flesh and blood. Hello, this isn't working. So maybe that looks like you setting some boundaries. Maybe you are not saying yes to absolutely everything, even if it makes people get weird. Maybe you are telling a colleague that you actually can't take on another assignment. And even if that makes them get a little strange and snooty, it's like, that's okay. This is your life. You cannot kill yourself for a job that doesn't actually pour back into you. That's tea. Or maybe, Pisces, someone new comes into your life and makes you realize that when somebody actually is kind to you and thoughtful and supportive, it takes a lot of pressure off of your plate. And then you're realizing like, oh my gosh, so much of what I have been doing is actually trying to make up for all of the ways that people have been falling short. More tea. This is all very revealing. And now with the sun in Virgo, your opposite sign, you are going to be realizing that relationships are mirrors. And you are going to have such a deeper understanding of who you are and what you need and what actually supports you and what actually diminishes you, because you are seeing yourself in the context of the most important relationships in your life. You are going to be so much more interested in actions rather than words, and recognizing the fact that when people show up for you, they are going to make themselves very known in the ways that they do. We love evidence, Pisces. That's gorgeous. And all of this matters because next week there's a lunar eclipse in your sign. And that means that you are going to be reaching some culminating moment as it pertains to your identity. I'm sure you already are feeling it coming, right? And at this point, you are going to feel much less obsessed with trying to contort yourself to meet other people's expectations. You are going to be able to just like stand in your truth and be like, hey, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And all of that is building up over the next few days because you are recognizing what works and what doesn't work. You're building off of all of the wisdom you accrued over the last few weeks. And when you do that, you realize that it's okay if other people are uncomfortable. What matters is you know what you need in order to be safe and healthy, fulfilled, and satisfied. Your priority should not be making yourself easy to accommodate. Your priority should be doing what is honest for you. And that's all for today. Did your horoscope slay? Let me know what you think. And I'll be back on Wednesday for our tea party. And then, of course, on Monday, I'll have your weekly brew. And then Wednesday, another tea party. And Monday and Wednesday and Monday and Wednesday and Monday and Wednesday, you know where to find me. So be sure to follow and subscribe so you never, ever, ever miss one of my delicious concoctions. And while you're at it, give me that 5-star rating. Give me that glowing review. And let your presence be known because I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm so glad you're here. Bye.